So I randomly caught this segment on YouTube where inside the NBA crew is talking about the school shooting that occurred a couple months ago in an elementary school in Texas. That incident caught a lot of attention at that time because around 18 children were shot. But everyone seems to forget that another life was taken on that day, that being the life of the killer himself, Ramirez Rodriguez, who only was 18 years old himself. It might sound odd now that I sympathize with the perpetrator, but Ramirez was also just another victim of the system, and the massacre is just a result of him falling victim to the David circle, right? And what we're gonna see is that the media is gonna make and push those events, all those shootings that are occurring right now, to demonize and blame weapons. And the masses, they're gonna see this news, but usually after one day of showing their fake compassion, they will forget about it. But the notion that guns caused this tragedy will probably stay with them because of the repeated programming that is happening through through the media and these news showing up everywhere. But if we want to make a change, we have to come up with a solution, and that is by understanding what the underlying issue is that is causing humans to go berserk. So inside the NBA highlighted this case, and I would try to use their narrative to explain what really caused this tragedy.
Site of Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals with Golden State leading 3 games. When you Google it today, you are seeing again the soul-crushing news of a mass shooting. Today at an elementary school there, an 18-year-old walked in and killed 14 school kids and a teacher. The NBA has released a statement. The NBA family devastated by the horrific shooting that took place today in Uvalde, Texas. Our thoughts and heartfelt condolences go out to the victim's family and friends and the entire Robb Elementary School and Uvalde community.
Hell nah. I don't believe for 1 second that the NBA cares for human lives. These hypocrites, they make major money from their ties with China and Nike. If you didn't know, Nike's basically owned by China. And now the NBA want to act like they care for 18 children, while they do business with a nation that is killing millions of humans over control and money. And it is not only the NBA. There are a lot of American industries that depend on China. And they suddenly go silent when the CCP is doing their power moves. And it's obvious that these companies, alongside the NBA, sold their soul for money, and now they have to bow down to communism. They can't say shit. But the real danger here is that the USA, or really the West, is slowly moving towards communism because in the end, politics is just a business. You understand that? So that's why the conservatives hold on to their weapons. They don't trust the government. This might sound far-fetched, but if you remember, after Hitler disarmed the people, the country, he had full control over the country. There was not a slight chance of resistance because the SS was so heavily equipped with weapons, of course. So even if the people wanted to resist, at that point it was already too late. Now some people will think I sound like a conspiracy nutjob and that something like this won't happen again because for most of the people, their government is their big daddy. They trust the government like it's, But our democracy, in fact, is already starting to rot. The majority of our society are brainwashed rogue liberals that are acting as assets. And back then, the Nazis, they rose in power first, not by brute force, I want to remember, guys, but by using propaganda to brainwash the people into believing that they wanted this. Okay, so once they got the majority, especially the younger folks, influence and join the agenda, thinking it was their own will, they could use that peer pressure to influence and force the rest, okay? And the same thing is happening right now in this world. Of course, if the people are brainwashed, they don't realize it, but you just have to look. And right now, those liberal ideologies really taking over and you, the woke community, you're just an asset, just like in the movie Matrix. You're an asset like Agent Smith, programmed to attack anyone who says anything against your beliefs, right? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, let me give you a hint. Wasn't free speech one of the reasons why we wanted democracy? Why is it that we are only allowed to say stuff that does not offend the liberals and goes against their agenda? The man Jordan Peterson, he just helped so many young people on this earth, really a important asset to this generation. He was banned from Twitter for saying the truth. It was not his opinion, but he just stated facts. That's really crazy. And the comedian Kevin Hart, back then he made a gay joke, and the LGBTQ community forced him to apologize publicly. And of course, first he said like, "Fuck no, I'm not gonna do that shit." But eventually, he surrendered to the pressure because, well, I think he understood that the entertainment industry holds the key to his career. So that sounds more like oppression and censorship to me, right?
Community. Short time ago, Steve Kerr had his media availability. Listen.
I'm not going to talk about basketball. Nothing's happened with our team in the last 6 hours. We're going to start the same way tonight. Any basketball questions don't matter. Since we left shoot-around, 14 children were killed 400 miles from here, and a teacher. And in the last 10 days, we've had elderly black people killed in a supermarket in Buffalo. We've had Asian churchgoers killed in Southern California, and now we have children murdered at school. When are we going to do something? I'm tired. I'm so tired of getting up here and offering condolences to the devastated families that are out there. I'm so tired of the, I'm sorry, I'm tired of the moments of silence. Enough. There's 50 senators right now who refuse to vote on H.R. 8, which is a background check rule that the House passed a couple of years ago. It's been sitting there for 2 years. And there's a reason they won't vote on it, to hold on to power. So I ask you, Mitch McConnell, I ask all of you senators who refuse to do anything about the violence and school shootings and supermarket shootings, I ask you, are you going to put your own desire for power ahead of the lives of our children and our elderly and our churchgoers? Because that's what it looks like. It's what we do every week. So I'm fed up. I've had enough. We're going to play the game tonight, but I want every person here, every person listening to this, to think about your own child or grandchild or mother or father or sister, brother. How would you feel if this happened to you today? We can't get numb to this. We can't sit here and just read about it and go, well, let's have a moment of silence. Yeah, go Dubs, you know. Come on, Mavs, let's go. That's what we're going to do. We're going to go play a basketball game. And 50 senators in Washington are going to hold us hostage. Do you realize that 90% of Americans, regardless of political party, want background check, universal background check? 90% of us, we are being held hostage by 50 senators in Washington who refuse to even put it to a vote, despite what we, the American people, want. They won't vote on it because they want to hold on to their own power. It's pathetic. I've had enough.
Oh shit. How dare you, Steve Kerr, man? How can you use the dead kids, this tragedy, and connect it to politics, man? Like, okay, the reason the Republicans hold on to their weapons, like I already said, it is, of course, to hold on to their power, but that's not it. It's not like some. Of course, the gun market is also generating a lot of money, but that's not what it's about. I already told you before. They need the country, the folks, the people need the power in case someday they have to fight back, right? But see, you can take away the gun, but we're still left with a disturbed young boy with serious issues, and he's still a threat with or without a gun, even to himself. So why are you not talking about the actual problem here, huh? Why are you not? But look, you can put restrictions on gun availability, and in general, I have nothing against that, but it's not that simple. But putting restrictions on guns is like putting a band-aid on a flesh wound. You might limit the blood loss, but as long as the wound is not closed, it will keep bleeding, okay? So if we want to solve this issue, we can't be thinking on a two-dimensional level like Steve Kerr here is, but we have to tackle this from the root, okay, guys? So when I first heard about this case, when I watched this report, I had this one thought came to my mind, and it was, where's his father? I bet this boy doesn't have a father figure in his life. And when I started to do some research for this video, see, I was right. If this boy had a strong father figure in his life, most of this year could have been prevented. But it's because a boy just needs a father to teach him wrong from right, just by being there for him as a role model. But we're gonna talk more on that later. See, the mainstream media pushed this interview real hard. I saw every news channel and news station talk about it, and they were building up Steve Kerr as this social justice hero, trying to make change in politics. And so it's pretty clear to me that they used this traumatic event, this emotional interview, to get an emotional reaction from the masses, instead of thinking with logic and discernment, okay? So when Steve Kerr, I think he was probably placed in this position strategically to use the fact that his father was killed in a school shooting, so they could furthermore get that element of sympathy and pity from the masses. And then they would use the peer pressure on the masses by having all those influencers and big news stations praising his little rant here. Of course, also they can win the masses over. And the reason is pretty clear. It's to attack and destroy the image of the Republican Party and limit their power by starting to restrict guns. And distract us. Meanwhile, they distract us from talking about the real issue. At the same time, it's free marketing for the Democratic Party. But really, what all this is about, not specifically this interview, but this wave of reports on gun violence. It's the first step into demonizing weapons, so they can eventually remove weapons, remove the power from the people, and then the government has, there would be no way of stopping the government, whatever they want to do. But back to the interview. Bet money that probably 9 out of 10 that saw this interview got carried away and agreed with Steve Kerr that guns and Republicans are the problem, instead of making up their own mind. And I encourage you people to do that, because usually people don't think for themselves. They just agree with whatever their environment endorses, because they don't want to stand there like a dick in front of their peers and friends. And I'm not saying that all these shootings, because it might sound like that, are insider jobs. Hey, that might be. But the Democratic Party profited from those shootings as they managed to demonize the Republicans on a global scale. All right? But do your own research as always.
The New York Times now are reporting that 18 school children were killed and a teacher today in Uvalde, Texas. Uvalde's not far from a place where you grew up, San Antonio. Shaquille?
Used to visit there a lot. Played them in high school. They were in our same district. Steve's correct. You know, when enough is enough. Places where me and Kenny come from. Kenny's from Left Rack. I'm from the Brick City, northern New Jersey. People get killed every day. Kids get killed every day. And something has to be done. I understand you talk about background checks, but it's a lot that needs to be done. Because, you know, once you do a background check, let's not forget about the underground market. Because again, places where, and then even Charles, places where me and Kenny are from, anybody can get a weapon. Am I right about that, Kenny? Anybody can get a weapon anytime. And I'm not talking Ernie going to the store, show your ID. You know, in the hood, anybody can get a weapon. So
That's also one of the reasons why restricting guns wouldn't help, because it would just lead to a situation where the criminals could still get their hands on a gun. And meanwhile, the innocent and civilians, they would be standing there defenseless. It's not a desirable situation either.
look, this is sad. My condolences goes out. As a parent, I don't know how I would react if I got that call. Used to be rules. Used to be codes, like, you know, kids and mothers and stuff like that used to be off limits. So how you do stuff like this? And then I heard the kid did something to his grandmother before he went to school. It's just
Had shot his grandmother before he opened fire in the school.
Look, it's a sad day. It goes on every day. Again, people where I come from in Newark, New Jersey, get killed every day. Chicago, there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff that shouldn't be happening. Steve mentioned Buffalo. It's just sad, and you know, we all have to do something, but we have to check all avenues. Don't just talk about certain things and not forget the other things.
Well, you know, firstly, Steve is 100% correct. And those who don't know, research Steve Kerr in the background, where he comes from and why he feels so differently about certain things. When you talk about social justice, you talk about African-American justice, you talk about guns and violence.
A father who was assassinated.
You know, do your research on Steve Kerr first.
Man, they're really trying hard, man. Just because his father was shot in a school shooting, that doesn't make him a qualified spokesman. And by the way, he's not thinking at all, I think. He's just an asset.
That man is a trooper. Always admired him, played with him in the World Games, was my roommate in the World Games, one of my favorite people in the world, firstly. Secondly, the demonic mind is illogical. So you can't put logic to how that happened. There is no logic to demonic. So there is no, oh, he wasn't in the right mind, he was demonic. Let's start there. That's a demonic act to walk into an elementary school and do the.
Damn, Kenny, since when did you become a pastor, man? The demonic mind is illogical. Come on. No, Kenny, you can put logic to what happened, okay? This is the problem with these low-level thinkers. Man, Kenny, wearing those glasses doesn't make you smart. Please stop try-harding. Just because you don't understand shit doesn't mean we should call it off as a demonic act and just stop there. Because we all have our demons, but the majority of us doesn't run around shooting kids. What we have to understand is the system that allowed this kid to become a murderer. But at one point, I do agree with Kenny, it was a demonic act. But what we have to understand about demons is they always attack the weak and defenseless. That's why they attack the children in an elementary school. That's why they attack children, unborn children. That's why abortion is being pushed. That's why they use Salvador, an 18-year-old boy who grew up in a bad condition, who grew up in a system, which opened up the door for these psychological and mental issues. Or to put it simple, it opened up the door for these demons.
Things that he's done. And, you know, so we just got to pray for the families. And we have to understand where this country is right now in terms of mental health, physical health, and, as Steve said, the availability to get armed weapons.
Look, everyone knows that this country, this whole world is fucked up. What we have to understand is how we can change that, right? And you might be able to limit the numbers if you restrict guns, but we can't prevent murder from happening just by throwing guns away. Okay, the only thing that we can do to change things is to prevent kids from even reaching this point of madness, and that is by start making good decisions for ourselves and our children, because our decisions will influence not only our children but the future, and As long as we don't understand that, a new child will grow up fucked up in his head. Just that this time he might use a knife or a bomb to kill, or maybe even commit suicide.
Been a rough couple weeks, man.
It has, Joe.
It's been a rough couple weeks. That thing in Buffalo shook everybody up. This thing today shook us up. And what's heartbreaking to me in both instances, what is making young kids do this stuff? That's what's scared. These last two attacks were carried out by young kids. What is happening in your life at 17, 18 years old that makes you so angry that you react like this? It should be hard to get guns. It's way too easy to get guns. The ghost gun thing is a big issue in this country. And our politicians, they are the worst example we can follow. This notion that every single thing that happens in the world, we have to vote among party lines, no matter what the subject is. I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, I'm gonna go with my team, instead of representing the people. You're supposed to.
Exactly, just so you know, I'm not political at all. I'm talking about Republicans and conservatives and Democrats, but I don't give a fuck about politics. I'm not looking at politics to change my life, right? But Chuck, really the only person who's speaking genuinely and asking the right questions. But I really wonder why none of them. Okay, actually I got the answer, but no one is talking about the real issue. They're just saying we have to understand where the country is in a mental state, blah blah blah. But Chuck, I do agree with you. We can't look at politicians to deal with those issues, because the government, again, is not our big daddy. So stop looking for change through politics, social movements and stuff. We have to start with us and the people around us, our household, because there is no fast solution. Let me tell you this. There's no law that can change the society just like that from the scratch, okay? Because real lasting change always starts with ourselves. Okay, we have to change from the bottom. It starts from the bottom, and then it starts to trickle. And if you change, the people around you, you influence them, they change too. So it really starts from the bottom and works its way up to the top, not the other way around. You understand?